Let's go straight over to my guest for the first hour. Always love a Wednesday because I am always joined by Talk's excellent international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, did you have the dubious pleasure of listening to an hour of Rachel Reeves droning on about how determined she is to create growth?
I did my best to be professional, and I dipped into it. But you know, I've read the substance of it, and it's seriously pathetic. It's pathetic. You can't say I'm going to build a little, or we'll build a little railway from Milton Keynes from Oxford to Oxford. You know, I think it's about 30 miles or something. And then also we'll improve the road from Buckinghamshire to Cambridge. And that will add up to Europe's answer to Silicon Valley. Why? How? You know, and then she talks about growth because of the fourth runway at Heathrow. I actually support the idea, but to start talking in terms of that, promoting growth immediately is ridiculous. That will take, if you're lucky, 10 years to happen, even if it does manage to break through the blizzard of objections, mainly from that idiot Ed Miliband, who's already talking about carbon budgets. He didn't turn up for her speech today. He's trying to sort of make small talk and say, oh, you know, we get on well, we're going to work this out. But he's four square against it and will cause a plethora of problems for the Chancellor. This was not a speech for growth. Meanwhile, every business boss in the country is saying, you ruined all chances of growth with that preposterous, grotesque £40 billion tax grab budget last October, in which you hiked national insurance by 25 billion quid. Businesses are having their profits bled away from them. That we can't grow under these circumstances. Who the hell does she think she's trying to kid? I honestly do believe now, Isabel, that she is way out of her depth.
Well, the whole speech was a sign of panic, really. I mean, I was saying on Jeremy's show earlier, I've never known a Chancellor give an hour-long speech of the sort that she gave and then take lots of questions afterwards, just a few months after a budget. I mean, effectively, this was like another budget without any of the boring figures in it. And we know she doesn't really like to be troubled by the figures that are clearly all heading in the wrong direction. And let me tell you another reason why this extra Heathrow runway is not ever going to come to anything. Because last time round, Heathrow spent £100 million of private shareholders' money on investigating and putting the case for the third runway, and it all came to nothing. All that investor money was blown. Do you really think they're going to go down the same route again, blowing their own money, pushing the case for this, investigating and setting out how they would do it, when they can see right from the start that half the cabinet and a whole load of Labour backbenchers are against it? And as for whatever government comes after this woeful administration, if it's reform, they won't do the third runway either. So I just can't see this actually being any kind of answer to this country's economic woes. And as you say, the problem is that for all the fine words and you know, a load of blah really that she was giving us today, in the end, she's still taxing everybody to the hilt. She's still making it harder and more expensive to employ people. She's still presiding over uncontrolled immigration. And in fact, worse than that, Kev, I don't know if you picked up on it, the one thing she did say about immigration is she wants more of it, not less of it.
Oh my God. We're going to be talking later in the it's ridiculous.
Still, we've got a horrendously bloated welfare state, you know, and she doesn't sound convincing when she says slightly kind of half-heartedly, yeah, we're going to do something to tackle that. It's not going to work. And I don't know what planet she's on when she thinks that any of this is going to make a difference in a timely fashion.
See, overarchingly, I think what we've got here is a bunch of socialists, sort of sixth form student activist style socialists who surprisingly find themselves in government. For 14 years, they've stewed in opposition, saying, you wait till we get into power and we can exercise our socialist dream. That'll sort the country out. So here they are, they get into power. and they've been deluding themselves that a basic system by which a government, a left-wing government, bleeds the private sector dry, takes all the profits from the private sector and gives it to the public sector, which is entirely unproductive. They thought that was going to work. That is economic madness. It's insanity. It cannot work. And in so many other areas, this government is just ploughing down this socialist route and learning what historians have known for centuries now. Socialism does not work. But until it dawns on Keir and the gang that perhaps they better mend their ways, we're stuck with this sort of ideological lunacy.
I know, and this is such a depressing thing, isn't it? You know, I think that help is coming, but the problem is that help can't come for another 4 years. You know, it is sort of so weird to get your head around the fact that it's only 7 or 8 months ago that the country actually voted, and they voted not in their majority, but unfortunately more people voted for Labour than for the other parties. And here we are, and we're stuck with it, and things are going to get an awful lot worse before they get better. I mean, put really simply, you're not going to get a thriving economy in which you simply give a lot of people a lot of handouts, because if people are just given stuff, they don't work. This isn't complicated, is it? If you just dish out vast scales of benefits and subsidies and so on, people aren't going to have to try very hard. That's putting it in the simplest possible terms. And I'm saying this sitting here in the Middle East, in a country that has no safety net. Now, people will argue about whether that's a good thing or not a good thing, and many will feel that a civilized, advanced economy like the UK should have a safety net for everybody that seriously needs it, the disabled and so on. But, you know, countries that are quite tight on their handouts tend to be countries where people have to find a way to make their own living. And that's what they do. They hustle and bustle, and they get up early and they go to bed late, and they actually make something of their lives rather than relying on handouts.
Here's the other good thing, Isabel. Just when we were worried about the future of the economy and the financial future of the country and millions of people who live in it, they're going to, and I think I got the champagne out, they're going to improve Old Trafford, Manchester United's football ground. So that should sort everything out. Just before we go to break, we better have a dip into Rachel from Accounts' speech. Here's a bit of it.
The last full-length runway in Britain was built in the 1940s. No progress in 80 years. Around 3/4 of all long-haul flights in the UK go from Heathrow. Over 60% of UK air freight comes through Heathrow. And about 15 million business travellers used Heathrow in 2023. According to the most recent study from Frontier Economics, a third runway could increase potential GDP by 0.43% by 2050. I have always been clear that a third runway at Heathrow would unlock further growth, boost investment, increase exports, and make the UK more open and more connected. So I can confirm today that this government supports a third runway at Heathrow and is inviting proposals to be brought forward by the summer. Low growth is not our destiny. But growth will not come without a fight, without a government willing to take the right decisions now to change our country's future for the better. That's what our plan for change is all about. That is what drives me as Chancellor.
Well, Isabel, just before we go to break, I would point out that if Rachel from Accounts wants to appear, you know, slightly more professional, perhaps next time she makes a keynote speech, don't make it in the middle of a machine. What was that racket going on? They're so amateurish, this lot, aren't they?
Oh, honestly, I'm trying not to get too depressed here listening to that. It's just all so illiterate, really, you know, banging on about how they're determined to do this and have a fight and so on. It's all going to happen with a battle. and at the same time, you know, making it so much more expensive for anyone who actually wants to create wealth for the country. It's completely topsy-turvy, this stuff. They give with one hand and take with the other.
And realising the catastrophic error of their early days when they came in and talked the country down, talked the economy down, said, oh, it's all terrible, terrible, terrible. We've got Keir Starmer now trying to evoke the memory of Margaret Thatcher's positivism, and we've got the Chancellor, Rachel from Accounts, saying we ought to be like Trump and talk the country up. So they are admitting that they made a massive mistake. Everything they're doing now, as you implied earlier, you alluded to earlier, is a tacit admission that they've got it all wrong so far, and frankly there isn't much room for improvement with this lot.